Welcome, Dancing with the Stars fans. I'm Gold Derby Senior Editor Daniel Montgomery here with our contributors Jeffrey Kare and Cordell Martin. We are here to discuss the most recent Dancing with the Stars episode, Disney Night, after which we will discuss the next episode of Dancing with the Stars, which is going to be Halloween Nightmares, where the celebrities will perform routines inspired by their nightmares. But let's start with Phaedra Parks' nightmare. She was eliminated at the end of Disney Night. She performed a jazz routine to Cruella de Vil that I thought was kind of lacking. I thought sorry Val, I thought Val's choreography didn't really showcase her very much, and then she was sort of the weak link in the team dance at the end of the night. So she really didn't have the fan base to come up from the bottom of the leaderboard where she was. So it just really felt like it was inevitable. She needed a big breakout moment, and she just didn't get it, despite the fact that she's done pretty well over the last few weeks. What did you think about that, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I think, this past Tuesday was Phaedra's, turning point to see if she was going to be a contender or if this was going to be the end of the road. I think we all kind of predicted just based on the dance style and who's left in the competition that her time was coming up. To your point, I felt like her routine just was very lackluster. It was a lot of posing and attitude, but really didn't have any substance to it. And then with the team dance, she felt lost a lot throughout the routine. And I think it was bad on the pros part. Well, yeah, the pros part to have her kind of front and center when it was the stars portion to dance. So yeah, I mean, overall, she should be proud of herself for how far she's made it in the competition, but I think it was her time to go.
What did you think, Jeffrey?
Well, it was quite a journey for her to, start the season as a possible front runner to losing steam by the end of the run. And, I thought her performance had some interesting and seductive ideas, but yeah, she really ran out of steam, especially, she's really got started to get lost in the shuffle as everyone else was really well, for the most part, was upping their A game.
And joining her at the bottom of the leaderboard, the judges' leaderboard, to my surprise, was Stephen Nedorosik. I think his timing was off during his first routine, his Charleston. But I think because he performed so early in the night, I think he was he first. Um,
Yes.
he got dinged a lot harder for that than other celebrities got dinged later than that, because I feel like they were a lot harder on him than they were on celebrities later than that. Like Danny got straight nines, and I don't think that was a nines routine. Um, uh, I thought the eights were more or less fair for Stephen Cordell. I know you disagreed with that. I think you thought that was a lower dance than even the judges thought. What did you think about his performance and where he ended up at the end of the night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, in my opinion, kind of like a seven. Just based on the routines he's already performed. He was definitely off in terms of timing, a bit throughout the dance. Not surprised that he was in the bottom three, so to speak. I think a lot of the contestants, like your Chandler, for example, we knew this was going to be kind of her redemption night, so to speak. A few of the other couples had more memorable songs or routines that really captivated the audience. So I think it was just one of those things where he kind of got lost in the shuffle this particular week.
What did you think, Jeffrey?
Well, I go off what Cordell just said. Yeah, it didn't help that Steven was the first to go on, where, yeah, he became clear he got lost in the shuffle after that. And of course, we'll never know, I guess, if he really was necessarily in the bottom three or not, or if that was just played for suspense. But hey, hopefully that should, all for Steven's fans, that bottom three scare should hopefully convince him to really to vouch for him next week.
And Cordell, as you mentioned, we had the comeback dance for Chandler Kinney. She performed Paso Doble, which, the judges wanted her to dig deep. And, if there's going to be a dig deep kind of dance, it's like there are like a couple you can do that on. There's like an Argentine tango, there's Paso Doble, the passionate dances where you can really, deliver on technique and intensity. And she did, and she got straight nines. And hers, I thought she deserved those straight nines. And no tens tonight, this week. Yeah, I thought we might see a 110 or two somewhere, but no tens yet. We'll see if that comes up later. But for now, Cordell, what did you think about Chandler's performance and her getting back on top?
Yeah, just like once again we predicted, I felt like this was going to be her comeback dance. I think especially when you are labeled as the ringer or everyone has these high expectations, oftentimes the fans can get a little bored. And so I think it was great, at least halfway through the season, where we can kind of see a shift in terms of just their overall performance and being memorable for the fans. So hopefully this kind of kicks them, up in gear in terms of, making sure that the audience doesn't get bored with them and see them as a true contender that they deserve to be.
What did you think, Jeffrey?
Well, yeah, I agree. I thought this was definitely really got her back on top. And, I guess, sort of as we suspected last week, I guess dancing into a song from a property she knows very well. The performance I thought was a total knockout. So, yeah, I'm glad I got her back on track, and we shall see how she continues to do moving forward.
Now, let's talk about those team dances. There was team Goofs versus Team Roar, and Team Goofs had Ilona, it had Jen, and it also had the two highest scoring celebs of the season, Joey and Chandler. So I was thinking they would get maybe a little bit dinged because they have all intense, the power players of the season, so they'd be held to a higher standard. But it turned out the opposite way. I think they legitimately blew Team Roar out of the water. I think because Team Roar left a lot on the table, as Cordell, you mentioned that they put Phaedra out in front when she maybe wasn't the star you want to emphasize in your team routine. But you have Steven. He did a little bit of the flares, the gymnastic flares, and there was one really great lift where Dwight lifted him in the air, which was cool. But then it was one upped by Team Goofs with Ilona lifting lifting who did she
Was
lift?
it Chandler
Jenna. It was Jenna, was it?
or Chandler?
No, I think it was Jenna. I think she
Okay.
lifted one of the pros.
Oh, okay, okay.
I think she lifted someone, but it was
Yes, she,
really cool. She lifted Alan a couple times too.
yeah.
Um, I thought the judges made the absolute right decision. Team Roar got all eights, and Team Goofs got all nines. I think those were the right scores for those dances. What did you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I will say overall, I wasn't as impressed with both teams compared to past seasons. But between the two, I mean, Team Goof definitely was miles ahead of the other team. I think that you can sense the camaraderie, the chemistry. Um, it was more organized and structured and really did well in terms of highlighting each couple's strengths as well as a collective group. Team Roar, I mean, they on paper will be more of the fun group, so I thought maybe the judges would have given them a bone versus the other team. But just the fact that you can tell they really wasn't in sync in terms of the execution of the routine is what really did them in.
What did you think, Jeffrey?
Okay, what I will say about both team dances, I really appreciated how each of the contestants got their own opportunities to shine. And yeah, and I thought, the Goofs team dance was really good and very eye-popping, and Roar I thought was, a lot of fun, even if he probably could have used an extra spark or two. But yeah, I for the most part enjoyed both of them.
Now, with no further ado, let's talk about the dances coming up on Halloween Nightmares Night. I have the press release in front of me, um, and it's going to be a fun one, I think. There's going to be a lot of dancing that's not competitive. So you've got, there's going to be an opening number to "Murder on the Dance Floor," choreographed by Emma Slater and Gleb Savchenko. Then there will be a witchy routine set to the Ballad of the Witch's Road from Agatha All Along, because Disney owns ABC and owns everything. That will be choreographed by Britt Stewart and Ezra Sosa. Nice to see him still, being a big part of the season after they stuck him with Anna Delvey. And then there will be a spooky, fast-paced number to Aserege, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, choreographed by Daniela Karagat and Pasha Pashkov, the husband and wife. Now, as for the individual dances, there will also be a dance. The dance, not the relays. What
Oh, dance off.
dance off?
Yes.
My brain is not working today. I apologize. There will be the dance offs, and I we will go into those after the individual routines. But with no further ado, the individual routines. Super Bowl champion Danny Amendola and Whitney Carson will perform an Argentine tango to Poison by Raven, based on his nightmare, which is snakes.
Mm.
Um, he's got definitely the power to do all the lifts for Argentine tango, so I think he'll be fine. If he's if as long as his posture is good. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to be another high scoring routine for him and Whitney. Maybe he might get a 10. We'll see, depending on the rest of the couples and what routines they have, because that dance usually is a crowd pleaser and if executed well, can really help stars get like their highest score. So I wouldn't be surprised if we might see a 10 or 2 from Danny and Whitney for this routine, or if not, at least near the top of the leaderboard.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, if he's scared of snakes, perhaps he should have be dressing up like Indiana Jones. But I mean, I will say, his performance this past week wasn't my favorite of the nights, but it was still enjoyable. So I'll be curious to see if he can, step it up a notch with the performance. So I'm curious to see how he'll do and if he'll improve, or especially in his scores. So hey, it sounds intriguing.
But he's not the only one who's getting an Argentine tango. Joey Grazide and Jenna Johnson will perform an Argentine tango to Ramalama Bang Bang by Roisin Murphy, based on his nightmare, which is ventriloquist doll. Is oddly specific, and I read ahead. It's not the only dolls based nightmare of the night, which is weird. Um, I think the fact that they gave both of them an Argentine tango, like, I mean, when they gave him and Danny and Chandler the contemporary, I think we all thought Chandler would have the winning contemporary, and it was the other way around. So you never know. Maybe Danny will have the showstopper, but I would say the advantage goes to Joey, given his performance this season so far, and he's the one I might expect us to see a 10 for. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, now that you mention it, it'll probably be Danny. That will probably either get the first perfect score of the season or at least a 10 or 2 just on paper. I mean, the song is an iconic song, especially if you watch So You Think You Can Dance. So, um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to their performance. I think it's definitely going to be another crowd-pleasing routine from Joey and Jenna.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
After really killing it this past week as Tarzan and Jane, I'm certainly am very excited to see what Joey and Jenna have up their sleeves, or in this case, feet next week. Seeing how his the performance really made Bruno stand up during it. Well, Well, I will be curious to see how the judges will respond this time, if he can get a 10 or two, but we'll have to wait and see for that.
And I look forward to seeing how Jenna manages to get him shirtless in a ventriloquist dummy routine. But she'll find a way.
She will.
Um, Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, Dwight Howard
Oh,
and Daniela Karagach. What did they get, Cordell? Tell me what you think they got.
if I were a betting man, I'm gonna lean on contemporary.
They got contemporary.
Hmm.
They got contemporary to Ring Around the Rosie by District 78, featuring Natalia Lilly, where Dwight becomes his nightmare, the boogeyman.
Ooh.
Now, Daniela, we're counting on you. Like, I mean, no pressure, but you have to live up to that us routine with Iman a couple seasons ago. And you've got don't have to worry about hold and frame in this dance. So really, really bring out the creativity. We're counting on you. We're rooting for you. We're all rooting for you.
We are.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I mean, as we, discussed a couple weeks ago, if not last week, we were just waiting to see if Dwight could make it to Halloween week. And this, if all goes well, could be the game changer for him. And it can at least, keep him safe for another few weeks towards the finals. If they screw this up by some chance, it's lights out for Dwight, but fairly confident Danielle is gonna pull out all the tricks for this one.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, I agree that, this past week, while I thought Dwight's performance was decent, he really has becoming weaker as the competition goes on. So I hope he steps up this week, this upcoming week. But if he doesn't, well, he might be next on the chomping block.
Then you've got Ilona Marr and pro Alan Burston will perform a tango to Psycho Killer by Miley Cyrus based on her nightmare, which is Psycho Killers. So that fits. That'll be an interesting theme. I wouldn't think that Ilona would be scared of most humans because she can beat most of them up. I'm pretty sure. But hey, I wouldn't want to be facing Ghostface in like Scream either. So like, I'm not going to judge her for being afraid of psychotic killers. It actually makes sense if you think about it. What do you think of this routine, this tango, and that theme, Cordell?
Um, Once again, just as we'll hear the rest of the dance styles for the other contestants, I'm a little nervous for her just based on the tango. I mean, she's been struggling in terms of just keeping the ballroom posture and really just dancing full out. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for her to really just dance full out throughout the entire routine. If she can't do that, I'm leaning towards she'll probably be in the bottom two, unfortunately, this week.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, her showing up in the bottom three this past week definitely puts her at risk. And, I thought her performance last week was very creatively put together. So we'll have to see if she can really stick it up next week. Or if not, well, again, probably be between her and Dwight again for her elimination, unless someone surprisingly stumbles, but we shall see. But I mean, Hubcar, again, we'll have to see if they'll go back to bottom two or if they'll be bottom three again. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, things aren't looking great for her at this point.
Yeah, I am a little bit worried for her. I don't know how strong her fan base is because she's always had scores at least in the middle. So she hasn't had to overcome a really big deficit. She does feel like she like has a lot of rooting factor. So I think she benefits from that. But I'm not sure how far that's going to take her if there's a night where she doesn't have the scores and she doesn't have a standout moment like she has in the past few weeks. But next up is our other Olympian, Stephen Edorosik and Riley Arnold will perform a contemporary to I ran so far away by hidden citizens based on his nightmare, the dark. Um,
Oh,
bless his heart.
I
Uh,
know.
but I'm actually excited for this because I feel like, interpreting the dark in the ballroom will be more interesting, potentially than like, no offense to, the psycho killers, but like, it feels like that's just going to be Alan chasing her around with a knife or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, I don't know that Riley's creativity as a choreographer has really been tested yet. So I'm interested in seeing what uh, she brings out of a contemporary for Stephen and how Stephen handles it when it's not a lot of fast-paced movements. It's more flowing and like free and liberated kind of dance style. He'll be free to do some gymnastic tricks in it. But like I'm really worried about his timing, whether he can really dial it in and slow it down where he needs to for a contemporary. So I am a little bit worried that he could end up in trouble again, but we'll see. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think it's really going to come down to Riley and how creative she gets with this. I mean, on paper, it seemed like it could be a really dope routine for the both of them if executed well. I think this might be the week he bounced back in terms of being back at the top of the leaderboard. Once again, it just all depends on how the routine comes together, but definitely looking forward to this routine.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, I agree. Despite giving what I found to be a pretty energetic performance this past week, I do think Steven really needs to step it up a notch because if he doesn't, he could be at risk of being in the bottom three again, and let's hope not. So I do hope he really hits out of the park with this one.
And last up of the individual dances, we've got Bachelorette Jen Tran and Sasha Farber will perform another contemporary. This one to Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo, based on her nightmare, which is vampires. Uh, oh, I think I forgot to mention. Oh no, I missed one. I forgot Chandler
Okay.
Kinney's. Yeah, I'll get back to hers.
Oh,
Okay.
I skipped her on the list. So anyway, Bachelorette, Jen Tran, Contemporary, Vampire, Olivia Rodrigo. She's afraid of vampires. Contemporary for Jen, I feel like will be good. I don't know if it'll be the most memorable of the night when you've got Daniela potentially doing her Daniela thing and Steven, going so far out of what seems like his comfort zone. So I'm not sure it'll stand out, but I think she'll probably have enough fandom to keep her out of the bottom, and I don't think there will be any problems with the dance. It'll get at least eights, maybe a couple of nines. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I also just feel like for the last at least 2 or 3 weeks, as soon as she's gotten more of the ballroom slower dances, so she's been kind of just falling behind in the background, at least to me. And I feel like this will be another routine. Will probably just be middle of the road. I'm not really expecting it to be the performance of the night, so to speak. So with that, I think she might be someone else that could potentially go home just because the competition is stiff. She's splitting the Bachelor Nation votes, obviously, with Joey. And if there's any indication with her being in the bottom three last week, well, I mean, this week, um, she might be in jeopardy, unfortunately.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
well, I thought Jen and Sasha both gave a stunning performance this past week, but I do echo a lot of what Cordell just said in that, well, I mean, seeing how she just avoided entering the bottom three, I mean, that could just leave some fans saying, oh, okay, she's safe for now. I don't need to give her as much of my supports. And, seeing how more competitive this competition has become, it's possible she could get lost in the shuffle sooner rather than later. Thus, well, ending her run at around that time.
That would be a like as much as I'd be glad to see Bachelor Nation not monopolize the whole competition every season. It would be sad if she's the first Bachelorette who doesn't make the final.
Yeah.
It's like Trista Stutter, I think. Stutter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, she was the first one to go home too, but that was, back in the
back in the
day.
day, no one remembers that. And that brings us to the dance offs. You've got oh, I forgot
Chandler.
Chandler. Chandler, thank
Oh.
you. Um, my brain is firing today. We're going. Chandler Kinney and Brandon Armstrong will perform a Viennese waltz to Secret by Denmark and Winter, based on her nightmare, which, as I mentioned, there will be more dolls. Her nightmare is creepy dolls. So
Ooh,
not necessarily ventriloquist dolls, just creepy dolls.
okay.
Um, Beanie's Waltz, I think she'll knock it out of the park. I think it'll be a perfect dance, whether or not it gets perfect scores. I think it might. But, with a waltz, it really needs to be just spot on, flawless for it to really, really stand out in the night. Either way, I'm pretty sure she'll be at or near the top of the leaderboard, and she'll be safe at the end of the night. I'd be surprised to see her go. We've been surprised to see people go in the past, so not going to say it's not possible. But
Mhm.
I think of all the celebs, I think this dance style and her dance ability will do her well. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. As long as, Brandon just make sure it's very creative and memorable. That's all they need. As long as they have those memorable routines, she got the goods in terms of the dance ability. So just make it memorable, make it fun. And it's great that she's the only one with this dance style this week, so it'll help her stand out. And then also with her having immunity, so it's at least for the dance off. So she definitely needs something that's going to keep her top of mind with the voters so they won't get complacent and think she's safe. So
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, seeing how she just faced tough zombies this past week, it should be interesting to see how she'll face off her fear of dolls. Although, given how much she's been killing it in the ballroom, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how she'll do, and well, I'll be surprised if it's anything less than great.
And now we'll talk about the dance offs. As Cordell mentioned, Chandler has immunity as the high scoring celebrity from Disney Night. She was tied with Danny for the high score of the night, but she's had the highest cumulative score for the season, which they used as a tiebreaker. Chandler has immunity. So there will be three dance offs. The first one is Dwight and Daniela versus Ilona and Alan, the lowest scoring celebrities of the season. They will perform dueling cha-chas to Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. My instinct says Ilona will win this one. I don't know that Dwight's going to have the precision and the technique for it. Um, but Dwight might have an advantage in his contemporary, so we'll see what their scores are like, and if the judges feel like giving Alona a little bit of a bump, depending on where she is on the leaderboard. What do you think about this, Cordell?
I agree 100%. And I feel like that's how it's going to shake out. I think they're going to give her a bump just based on her individual dance. I think she's going to be near the bottom with her individual dance, and so the judges will probably throw her a bone. And just comparing the two with the dance style, the cha-cha, it's gonna be tough for Dwight and Daniela. So yeah, I'm going with Alona on this one.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I agree. I think Alana may have an edge here, especially given how weaker Dwight has become, unless he surprisingly just returns to form, but I'll be shocked if that happens. So, yeah, I'd give Alona the edge here.
Then you've got Danny and Whitney versus Joey and Jenna. They will perform The Jive to Time Warp by Little Nell, Patricia Quinn, and Richard O'Brien. Um, I mean, they've of these teams, I believe they have the highest scores of the season, not counting Chandler, who has immunity. Um, But I think of them, I think Joey has much better technique and is much more proficient and especially at a fast paced dance style. I think he'll come out on top. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, this one's evenly matched. Once again, it just depends on what kind of mood the judges are in. If they're trying to bump up the underdogs, then Danny will win this. But just on paper, I think it'll probably be Joey who will squeeze this one out barely.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, I'm curious to see how those two will, fare up against each other. But I agree with Cordell that yeah, I'd give Joey the edge here, unless of course the judges want to, put in a good word for Danny. But yeah, I think Joey will come out on top.
And the last dance off is between Jen and Sasha versus Steven and Riley. They will perform the salsa to Jump in the Line by Harry Belafonte. Um, this will be interesting. Steven getting the contemporary for his main dance and now salsa for, I don't know that we've seen him in this. Have we seen him do a Latin dance like this? Or
I don't
might have
think
done a
so.
cha-cha? Or, but
Nope.
yeah, either way, this is going to be like this is new territory, and I'm always interested in seeing him out of do something different because he has the proficiency in terms of technique. He's just off on his musicality and timing. Like he gets ahead of himself, he gets overly excited, and he misses the music. So even though he's got the steps, like the steps are there, they just need to like the steps are there, and the music is like there. We need to get them like that. Yeah, for that reason, I actually think Jen. I would give her the advantage in this one. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I think Jen's going to be the one that probably will come out on top between the two.
I think it'll be a split decision, though. I feel like that. That's my guess. That's my prediction. Is that one judge will go Steven and the other two will say Jen.
Yeah, I could see that. And also with Danny versus Joey too, I could see both of those kind of a split decision.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, it should be interesting to see how those two will fare up against each other. Well, like with what I already mentioned about Danny versus Joey, but with Jen versus Steven, well, again, if Steven gets back on top this week, then that'll make things even more interesting. And if both really knock it out of the park, and it could be tight with between the judges, see who will get their votes, or if they're all unanimous decision, or if two of them pick one and the other picks the other. But hey, it should hopefully make for one exciting dance off to watch.
Okay, so now that we know what dances are going to be performed on Halloween Nightmares night, who do we think is going to be eliminated from the competition? Sadly, I'm looking at this list of dances and the dance offs and just the performance thus far, and I think sadly it might be Alona. Yeah, as much as I love her, yeah, she hasn't had her fan base be really tested that much. She's been safe every week, so a certain amount of complacency can set in. Um, and I just don't know how strong that fan base is compared to the others. We know Dwight has a fan base because he's made it up from the bottom of the leaderboard before. Yeah, it's a good problem to have though, hating to see anyone go at this stage of the competition. There's no one left who I'm thinking like, oh, just get rid of them already. What do you
Mhm.
think, Cordell?
I agree. Yeah, I think it's her time. To your point, I just really love her in the ballroom, her energy, it's so infectious. But just looking at the rest of the stars that are left, it's just really tough. If there's a potential spoiler, I could see Jen and Sasha maybe. I feel like they're just kind of once again fading in the background and really just to me doesn't really have that diehard fan base that I've seen online for like Joey or Danny or Steven or Chandler, just to name a few. So I think one of those two, unfortunately, will be leaving.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, I'm actually with the Gold Derby's consensus here and thinking it will be Dwight. As I mentioned earlier, he's been getting weaker and weaker as the season goes on, although if he knocks it out of the park next week, I can see him winning some support, thus he'll be safe for another week. And, well, Malono could be the one to go in that scenario, so it should be interesting to see.
And with that, thank you, Jeffrey, for joining me. Thank you, Cordell, for joining me. Thank you to everyone who has watched and listened to us go on about this week's show and next week's show. You can go make your predictions at goldderby.com. You predict who will be at the top of the leaderboard, bottom of the leaderboard, who will be eliminated, who will win the whole season. Of course, that answer will not be decided this coming week, but you can contribute your predictions to our leaderboard. Right now, Joey has moved into the lead as of this recording. So we'll see if that lasts until Tuesday night, and we will see if that changes after Tuesday night. So with that, thank you again for joining, and we will see you next week.